Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Udun. And I overall liked this episode, but I'm not quite sure I like how it ended. Because we got some good fight scenes, we got big battle scenes going on, mainly focusing in the Southlands and Bronwyn and Arondir dealing with what's kind of been going on with the orcs and everything. And then Numenor kind of coming in to help and everything like that. You get various vibes from kind of things of like the Rohirrim coming out to help in Helm's Deep and everything like that. It's not like it's completely copy and pasted. And then we do kind of get info dumps from Adir and any things like that, and then we get the big kind of change at the end, and it's just like, okay, my issue gets into the execution of certain things in this episode. Like, I still had an enjoyable kind of time with it, but I'm just like, ooh, they needed to kind of like fix some certain things. Like at the top end, we see that Galadriel and Isildur have pretty much a conversation, pretty much like they're getting close to the land. Galadriel can see it, Isildur doesn't yet, and that he's excited to kind of be doing this kind of thing and wants to kind of see what's going on. She points out he looks like his father, and he points out that most people say that he looks more like his mother. And then his father comes in, and we pretty much get the awkward drop because Galadriel asked how the mother dies, and he said that she drowned. And it's just weird because he was talking about some other stuff, and then just was like, oh yeah, she drowned. I'm like, alright, do you think that would have an aversion to why he would not really want to be in the Sea Guard? And the thing is, we don't really get that kind of, unless that's his mother's voice that is being used to tempt him away, but it's not really that clear on it. Because it's talking about like the real Numenor and everything like that, and it's just really weird. There's like seeds there that would work out better for the character, but I'm just now trying to figure out, oh, is that the mother? Weird. So then we shift over and we get most of the bulk in the Southlands, and we see that Arondir pretty much made this trap, draws in Adir and a good contingent of the orcs, and pretty much makes the watchtower fall on their asses. That was actually pretty fucking cool. So I'll be like, yes. Again, action scenes and how things work out in a plan help to inform how a character works. And this was actually pretty good, as we see that the villagers somehow escaped and were able to get back to their village without the... Okay, that broke. I didn't even think about that until I'm actually kind of like going through the chain of events, because that would be pretty hard for their kind of small contingent to work around the army of the orcs and the traitors villagers, who we of course also see, like Arondir points out, hey, half of you stayed. How did they fucking get back to the village? Okay, that kind of goes down a little bit for me. But they get back there, they're pretty much trying to figure out how to take on the orcs, even as the tower pretty much falls on Adir, and everything kind of goes on, but don't worry, he's fine. He's needed for info dumps later on. So they pretty much get everything set up. Bronwyn's like trying to figure out shit going on. Theo's like, I want to help out, and it's like, yeah, you're going to be in the tavern to protect the other people because you can actually protect them, you know? It's like, yeah, and I'm glad that he doesn't like do the team kind of whiny thing, and it says like, okay, yeah, I get that. As Arondir pretty much hides the blade thing, which we actually learn its purpose, and it's fucking stupid to me. Definite MacGuffin territory where it's like, we need something to do this. I'm like, did you? Did you really? He's talking about how he's going to spend the rest, like, we're going to get through this. I'm going to spend my life with you, Bronwyn, and all that kind of stuff that you usually get. And it works out. They sell it. They sell it well. And we then get their battle plans. They decide to pretty much lure in the orcs into the main center of the village, block off their routes of escape, and then pretty much shoot them with bows and arrows. Bronwyn almost gets kind of fucked over by one of the orcs that's like investigating the pretty much cart that they were going to set on fire and light the rest of the stuff on to kind of cut off the orcs' route of escape because they were coming back down from the watchtower after it had fallen. While her companion gets killed, I'm like, yeah, she definitely hit red shirt territory. So she sets that off. They do the rest. They start shooting them off and everything, and then they kind of start blasting out and like taking out. It's like, hey, we kind of did this, but we find out that it's mainly the villagers that had defected, and that the rest of the orcs start coming from the shadows as they kind of get hurt. Bronwyn gets severely injured. This one dude dies. And he was just kind of like this old dude that got really no kind of character development or real kind of moments, so it was kind of hard to feel anything for him. So they pretty much fall back to the tavern and are trying to like keep themselves occupied there. They of course start to try and help and administer to Bronwyn as they like rip out the arrow, cauterize the wound as well. And then we see that the orcs are pretty much blasting in. And they get in, they pretty much threaten Bronwyn, and Adir just wants the blade, and Theo betrays them for it. And the thing is, Arendir later on doesn't fault him for that, but the thing is, once they have what they want, they're going to kill you anyway. And that's funny, you just really have to point it out to them and be like, listen, if you threaten to kill everybody, I'm not going to tell you where it is, and you have to search for it anyway. You know, like, he's got the leverage in this situation. You trying to kill all the people, that just puts it on you being the asshole. And you get fucked, because then you have to search the whole fucking place again to try and get it. And I'd rather, I would like to try and save as many people as possible, but if you're going to kill us after you find it anyway, I'm going to let you go on a wild goose chase trying to find it yourself, you asshole. But he's gives it up, gives it to him, but then around that point we get the teleportation of pretty much the Numenorians coming in and their cavalry pretty much. It's like, holy shit. They do take more kind of liberties on teleportation stuff, kind of similar to what happened in Game of Thrones in Season 8, so I do kind of call them on that. But they come in, they start wrecking ass and everything, taking out orcs. Adir hands something off to Waldreg, which you're like, oh, he gave off the thing as he tries to run off. One of Isildur's friends is pretty much almost killed, but the lieutenant dude is able to kind of save him. Isildur, for some reason, is back with the honor guard protecting the queen, and Queen Mira's like, go forward. And then he goes, does some shit. Galadriel does some cool-ass kind of horse maneuvers and everything before she sees Adir and be like, I'm gunning for you, asshole. And then goes after him. Halbrand also follows, and they're able to kind of like team up. He's getting ready to pretty much kill the dude, but Galadriel kind of holds him back. And it's like, yeah, they played a game where Waldreg's got the sword, and it just takes a while to get there. I don't mind sleight of hand kind of things, but it's the execution of it that matters. Like Oceans, the sleights of hands that happen in that are just enjoyable even after I've seen it, because you're like, and here, and here. Here it's like, I know this is happening, and we're going to see what kind of goes for it. So, they're kind of celebrating now. Most of the people are alive. We see that Bronwyn gets introduced to Halbrand, being like, yes, this is your king. It's like, alright, you guys are really fucking receptive to this. I mean, granted, him and his homies did run in and save your asses, so I do understand the gratitude going on in that situation. It's just like, alright. So they pretty much have the orcs cornered off in a place that they have kind of shade, so that way they're not being burned continuously. And then we see that Adir is not Sauron, it's actually one of the Uruks. Moriondor, which are like the corrupted elves. So they are the kind of, he is one of the progenitors that was like corrupted by Morgoth, and he is just trying to, he actually, according to him, killed Sauron and wanted to find a place for his orcs to live. And Galadriel's definitely coming off very genocidal and like, I will wipe out all you motherfuckers. It's like, Jesus, no, fuck, man. It's weird. You don't want to do that. There's going to be certain remnants of people. You'd probably find an orc or two, or a good many of them, that probably are like, I don't want to kill people and eat people and do all this kind of shit. Now, granted, we have not really been shown many examples of that in here, but they are doing at least some kind of moral ambiguity to a degree. However, it doesn't really work out that well after we see, because he wants to find the land for his people. I'm like, okay, but you don't have to kill a lot of people and take it from them to have it. Why don't you come and be like, hey, listen, we told Sauron to get fucked. Well, in the most permanent way possible. Though, granted, killing Sauron and Morgoth is a lot harder than you would think. So, just doing that doesn't mean anything. Now, granted, I don't know if Halbrand or anybody else pops up and be like, I am Sauron! So, we'll fucking see what goes on, because we do have, 2 episodes left. Right? Yes. But Galadriel is, having none of it. I'm, ready to kind of go at him and everything like that. But he's Adar has just been trying to find a place for his people. I was like, alright, cool, whatever. And she gets pretty much close to killing him, but Halbrand pulls her back, and it's kind of cool to see them kind of doing that. However, we then get to the biggest kind of turning point in that Waldreg went up to the watchtower, had the sword thing drink his blood, put it in this stone thing, opened it up, and it opened dams. And that evidently, instead of these tunnels that the orcs were building to, essentially move their forces and, conquer places, they are being used to, draw this water, which, if you've created this system to do this kind of thing to begin with, you wouldn't need them, unless it's been untold thousands of years and the landscape has changed. I will accept that, okay? Not that there aren't any adequate explanations that could have occurred. However, they aren't really brought up here. So, he opens the dam. The water rushes to Orodruin. Orodruin. Pretty much the mountain that becomes Mount Doom. And I thought that Mount Doom would probably already be created. Like Morgoth, Mordor, all that kind of stuff. Now, granted, I am not well versed completely in the beginning aspects of the Lord of the Rings lore. So, if I'm wrong, let me know. I always love to learn about this stuff, alright? But I was just like, okay, alright. Now, granted, I didn't know much about Mordor's origins, but this just is like, alright, so it goes in the water, it goes down, as the orcs are shouting, Udun, Udun. And we see that Adar is kind of... Sorry about my pronunciations on Adar. I keep switching up for some reason. Adar. There we go. He kind of hunches down to shield himself, and we see water spurting out and everywhere, and it hits the mountain magma pocket and unleashes an volcanic eruption. I don't have a problem with the actual science of it going on. What kind of occurs afterward, though, I'm like, the fucking hell shit, fuckers? Because then a giant pyroclastic cloud pretty much comes at them. They are close enough that this would Pompeii their asses. And what I mean by that is, if you're close enough to Pompeii, you got fucking dusted. You got turned into pretty much baked ash and shit. And you were cooked alive. And we see all these people, and the thing comes, and pretty much comes over Galadriel and the rest of them. And I'm like, how did anybody survive this? Granted, I understand magic is a thing. And magic can throw a lot of weird shit into different kind of things, okay? Like unpredictability, surviving things that you rightly probably shouldn't. However, magic still fundamentally works within its own rule set. And we have seen pretty much works along the same kind of rule set that normal kind of physics does in this world. So, unless you are like a Balrog or some motherfucker, I doubt you would be able to survive this standing by it like this. Now, I could understand this happening and pretty much being continuously on and putting out ash and soot everywhere so that way the orcs could be like, hey, it's daytime, but I'm not getting burnt by the sun. It was just weird. I'm like, are you sure you want to do it like this? And that's where it ends, where it's like coming at Galadriel, and then we see that Adar has fucked off to who knows where, and it's like, alright, we'll see how this works out. It left at such a spot that I'm like, I literally don't know what's going to happen next, but the thing is, I'm like, you just did a weird thing, and I don't know if I really cared that much. Like, I've enjoyed everything going on to this point so far. Certain characters are like, okay, I'm more into, like, Elrond and Durin, more into Nori and the Mysterious Stranger. I've liked Galadriel and what we've seen of the Númenóreans. But this was just, like, a weird one for me, especially doing this review and just thinking about it and being like, I wish they had executed this stuff better. Even though the production's on point, it's like, okay. So we'll have to see how this works out and how anybody survives, because you do need an explanation for that. It's not like, I have Iron Man armor, or I've got this magic amulet that protects me against hot fucking shit. That's typical fantasy RPG kind of shit. I actually fucking made that kind of stuff in a Dragon Quest game to actually fight a boss. So, yeah, I would accept everybody got an amulet. Like somebody's like, candy, amulet, protect you against fire. Why? Don't ask me yet. Do it later. Like, hey, that still wouldn't be good, but at least it would be something other than because they're important to the plot, we couldn't kill them. That is definitely a bad example of the plot demands. It's like, okay. So we'll kind of have to see how this works out. I did like the action scenes that we got. They were clear enough to see what was kind of going on. Arondir had a fight scene with a big fucking asshole that was actually pretty interesting to kind of see going through. Right? There's some weird kind of flipping and everything like that, but it still was clear enough to actually see. That's a key thing for me. If you're doing an action scene, make sure you can follow it and see it. If it's jerky and I can barely tell who or what is going on, there is no point to the action scene. If I can't see it, why is it here? And there's a lot of different kind of things where it's like junka. I don't know where I'm at. Not here, but in like really bad ones that I'm like, why? So we'll kind of have to see where these last two episodes go, because I'm just like kind of confused at the moment. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.